Hello, Daisy.
Hello, how are you doing today? Is that working? Wait, man, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep, good. Well, I feel like it's been a while since I've been on this meeting.
Uh, don't worry, I feel the same way, and I was at the last one. Um, so sorry, my foot thing is in the wrong spot. Okay, that's better. See, look at me, taller and everything. Um, so post yeah, whatever's happening with this CDF. Actually, you know what? Let me
Mhm.
open up the agenda. I didn't even do that. Like I said, the I don't know why everything dropped off of my calendar, but like all of my I think my calendar's just not syncing with Google right now.
Uh,
And,
yeah, I tried going to the CDF calendar. I wasn't able to get there. I'm going to try again here in a second.
um, oh, yeah, I did not make an agenda. We don't have an agenda, so we can't talk. Okay. So so uh uh, after talking to Damien, and you guys look great, by the way, standing on stage doing your thing.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks.
uh-huh. Um, the 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 shift from trying to do a DSL to like starting at the thing that's most accessible, like visualizations, like teaching people how to get started with visualizations and basic value stream, um, made sense to get more people involved instead of jumping to the end. But we don't necessarily want to, give up on doing a DSL. That's so why doesn't that, did I put it in the agenda wrong? Huh. So the last meeting, the seventh show, I did it wrong. I did something wrong because the seventh is here. And sorry, I'm trying to fix
What?
the agenda. Um, okay, what did I do wrong? Hmm, maybe I just didn't put it in on at all. So the seventh it goes to so I guess the question is, what do we want to do? That's all. That was my that was my whole question. That actually I was going to just stop you yesterday and do, but things are becoming a little bizarre. But yeah, what do we want to do? What do you want to do? That, right? Does that work? Did that fix small problem? Did that work? Of course not. How do you work? Okay, I don't know how to do this. I am so embarrassed right now. Why is my link not working?
That's okay. You're looking at the agenda, the notes? Are you
Yeah, I'm looking at the one from the last meeting, and I'm
okay?
trying to get the last meeting notes to connect to the actual notes that we have on there for September. Um, but the August one works, but I don't, the link isn't. So is it the
Bring it
07?
in. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
What?
let's try that. And yes, all right, see? There you go.
See,
Okay. So in the last discussion, we were Fatih and I were discussing what could we do near term, the change in scope and also the change in the CDF status and how that might impact things going forward. Things were still kind of up in the air. Um, so I guess what I am curious about now is where we can go in this new state. What would not just you as a human being, but like even JFrog, like what is it, what's the intentions? Um, what do you guys want to see happen? Where do we go from here?
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, as far as JFrog is concerned, they're just, they want to be able, well, we have a lot of integrations already, right? Tight integrations with a lot of different products. So, one advantage to us would be, giving people the freedom to be able to choose different components for their pipelines and to be able to, move them in and out, which means, we need interoperability to work between these things. But
Yes.
um, but I think for the purposes of this group, like the next step, where are we with the white paper status?
I am still on hold. I have a VP's permission, but the question right now with legal, is he the right person to do that? I am literally my my leadership
Mhm.
and the my open source office are just like, oh, we'll tell you today, but I'm like, my meeting's today, so and you guys aren't going to get to work until after my meeting. So I still honestly I don't know. I have even debated whether or not, why is this looks so weird like that. Does that look weird to you?
You want to share your screen?
No, I know it's I'm no, I'm looking at how I did this last time and it's like, why would I put the comma there? I know how dates work. Um, so the short of it is every day is, oh no, we're going to tell you today. Oh no, we're going to tell you today. And so I don't know, honestly. That is the short of it. Hopefully I will know today. The problem that I have is that this is going forward, and my biggest concern is that we don't take it off the rails. What just happened?
I'm just sharing the notes so
Oh, okay.
talking the recording can see.
Oh, okay. That was so weird because that is literally what I was looking at on my screen. Um, yeah. Yeah, and it just blew up. Sorry. And it was literally
Um,
where I was looking. Okay. And so I don't know. I mean, I know that we have to do this because it's the same thing that you're talking about, where it, on the scale that I need this to actually work, there's no one trying to address it. And literally, um, yeah, we don't have, I don't know of another alternative, although there's a lot of different teams working on this. I don't know if there's another alternative that will solve this problem better. And so my group, which is basically we do internal tools, we are pushing for, hey, how do we get this going? How do we make this thing accessible to everyone?
mhm.
And how do we contribute? And so we're just going through that red tape that is, Apple. Um, and hopefully I'll come out of it pretty soon. But I don't have a solid answer to be able to like get the things that I gave to the group who puts the stamp on it for release to get it out. And that's my challenge.
Okay. So just to to back up a little bit, I mean, we had a white paper originally that was
Mhm,
put together by a number of different people.
mhm.
And we just wanted to update it, edit it, and then, have it as a resource for folks. But it
Eh,
seems like you're alone in working on it now. Um,
Um, yeah, and actually I wrote something that's kind of like that, but I separated it into three different documents because it didn't really target any group. And I am definitely not in any way trying to say, hey, folks, don't work on that document. I mean, if people want to work on that document and get it into a state that everybody's comfortable with, that's even better. My issue is my own contributions, not anyone else's. So if that's definitely a way to do that, because more is always better. If some is good, more must be better, right?
yeah, I mean, the idea is to get it out there, get a draft out there so that we can all view it, comment on it, adjust it, change it, add to it, stuff like that. So if we can get to a point where we can start doing that.
So do you want to use that document? Because it's been there forever and nobody's working on it.
Oh, I thought you were working on it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I
I think
wrote
that's
new
why I
ones.
think that's why I'm bringing it up. I think that
Okay.
we're misunderstanding on what we were doing with the document. So yeah, we were kind of on hold waiting to see, what changes have been made already.
No,
But
I have
that's
not edited the
that's like,
document because it's the same problem, right? My limit right now for contributions is CD events directly, as it impacts
yeah.
Spinnaker. And so that's why, well, even if I were going to do contributions, I had to be clear to do contributions. When I read the white paper or went through the white paper, I couldn't tell who the target is for the white paper. Um, and it had elements of, oh, this is great information to guide like an executive to like, hey, this is why you should do this stuff. There was great information in there for a developer who might be contributing to it. And there was also some information in there for like DevOps. And the feedback that I gave Fatih originally was, who's the document for? Because it's really hard to, white papers are typically really focused on the market that you're trying to engage, and the
Right.
use cases for the people that you're trying to engage. And I guess it doesn't have to be, but if it's a catch-all, then the question was, what action did you want to take? Because each group has a different call to action. And that also wasn't clear from the white paper. Like, what's the expectation? If it's just a dump of these are all the things we know, then is it marketing? Is it a blog? Like, what is it? Because at least in my experience in the white papers that I've done in the past, it's really, I'm trying to convince a set of people to do a thing, or that I have knowledge in an area that's useful to them based on, how they would consume and do the knowledge. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, no, that
okay.
totally makes sense. And I think that was the struggle initially with it, why it hasn't been released, why we didn't do anything with it yet, because I think that was very much unclear and needed to be updated and changed to reflect that. Plus, it's pretty old and there's a lot of contributors in there that, we probably need to revisit those contributions as it is. So
Yeah.
I think
Um,
the state
would
of it, I
you
think the wish or the goal was to have something out there to present to reintroduce and
mhm.
reintroduce the interoperability group. To work on my tongue twisters this morning.
do
And
do we or do I think one of the goals, and I'm sorry that because I wanted to like reach out to you and set up some time like outside of this to kind of have some of those conversations too.
okay.
I think we should just do that. Let's like put something on the calendar right now, because my calendar gets kind of crazy as the days go forward.
Yeah.
Um, and then the people who are showing up to address things with me are not who I'm used to dealing with. If You know,
Yeah,
we've
no
had
worries.
some
But
reorgs in the last couple of whatevers.
yeah, yeah, no, I totally get it. I'd like to do it in the open, like in a Google Doc that's visible.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah,
I don't know if
definitely. No,
people,
that's not what I'm. Yeah, I just want to be able to like, because this meeting, this is the interoperability meeting, and we're supposed to like cover other things and make plans. But then, like, if you're making plans, like, where are we like doing the thing? I guess that's what that makes sense. It's like this
yeah.
is where we talk about doing the things. I just wanted to set up some time to do some things.
Okay. Yep, that works.
Uh, okay. Um, I don't. So, what day is good for you?
I'm gonna stop sharing just for a second so I can see the screen. Um,
I try to keep Tuesdays and Fridays clear for like heads down work.
okay.
Um, and I am more than happy, of course, to use either one of those days and work on this.
Tuesdays and Thursday, you said,
Yeah, Tuesdays and Fridays.
and Friday.
And so it's Tuesdays after like noon Pacific.
Okay.
And then Friday's pretty much all day except for the 29th. I'm um, doing a thing with my team.
Okay. Friday works for me, the 29th.
Oh no, that's the date that well, you know what? If it's in the morning, like before noon Pacific, then definitely. Um, yeah. And I can start as early as like 8 a.m. Pacific. Um, or are we talking? Yeah.
Um, let's see, I have something on here. Hang on.
And then Tuesday the
Okay,
26th
or
is awesome.
hmm, the 26th is already full
Okay.
for
Yeah.
me. I've got Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and time is this? This is and early morning Friday.
Yeah. Early morning on the 29th would be super awesome. What's
Okay.
early morning from your perspective?
like like 8,
So that's like 7 here, or like what time is it?
7
Where
Pacific. Yeah. I'm actually in Pacific time zone at the moment. So yeah, that's
where
why
you
I'm like, is my calendar in the right settings?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure.
So it's gonna be can we do like 8 Pacific? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that works for me.
All right, let's okay. This is CDF and um, do I have your regular email address in my stack of email addresses?
Here, I'll send it in the chat.
Okay, all right, awesome. And then I'll give you the thing. All right. Yeah, so why let's do that. Mhm. Okay. Intro SIG. Awesome. Okay, because that is what I wanted them to do anyway. You can do that. Okay, so that's sent. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna make this longer, but you don't have to. We can use this little, or I just want to block off my calendar.
Okay.
with this. And so, yeah, if we go shorter or whatever, but you know, when people see a spot, they're like, yes, yes,
Yeah, I know that white space. You got to guard it
yeah,
carefully.
yeah. Okay. Well, that's super awesome. Uh, and what I was that's you brought up what I was was trying to suggest a couple of meetings ago, was like, let's just do something, especially if you're writing it and I'm just giving like inputs or like blah blah blah, then I'm covered technically. And
Oh,
so that's what that helps a lot.
okay, cool. Well, good. We're
All
gonna get
right.
um okay, I think there's probably a lot of work there, so hopefully we can get some
Yes.
more volunteers to help with that as well. But we'll start the charge and see what we can see what kind of involvement we can get from Fati. And I saw Damien joined a couple meetings ago, which is awesome.
Yes.
I'm hoping
And
to see him here today, but that's okay because I know he's super interested in talking about the reference architecture
okay.
and where we might want to move forward with that. So that was another large topic, just to have something to start with, to put out there, to get comments on. And from the recording, I didn't see the recording of the most recent meeting, but the one prior to that, I really liked the direction where you all were going as far as just kind of starting simple and
Yes.
then outlining, we really need to focus on what are the problems we're trying to solve. And that's the benefit of getting this group together, right? And different folks from different organizations is we're all going to have different perspectives on what the problems are and what we're trying to address. And I think if we start with a simple reference architecture that just
That
describes simple project, we can pinpoint where interoperability concerns might be. And from my perspective, I think we're probably going to land more in the observability space, visualization,
yes, yes,
that
yes.
kind of stuff, because all of these components are going to be working together in the beginning. And then, we need to be able to collect information from them in order to utilize them. I'm not saying that our group needs to create a tool, an observability tool, but at least a way that a tool could possibly collect this information and use it.
So that begs the other question that I have. Like, if we say, hey, this is the process for just doing the basic visualization portion of it, right? Where it's just this is what your pipeline looks across like several systems.
Mhm.
Um, and if we aren't building the tool, who is?
That would be, maybe a more like a working group or something could possibly build a tool, or we can start looking to see what's already out there. But I think something that would be valuable for us to start with is to list the problems to begin with. Like,
Okay.
what type of information are we looking for? What do we need to see? What are we missing?
Yes.
Because if we start with the tool before even understanding the full problem, we'll
Oh
end
yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, the use case is definitely first. I 200% agree on that.
Yeah.
Even though
So I
that's
think,
not possible. Um,
yeah,
so
collecting use cases would be excellent for this
yeah.
group. As if we get more perspectives from
Yeah.
different folks in different organizations, we're going to get different ideas on use cases. And
Yes. And so, and that question was specifically because I just didn't know the process, like in like how we went from like the interoperability SIG and then like spawned off CD events. And so
right.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, the history of that, from my understanding, it's also before my time, but they collected common vocabulary, common goals, common wishes for, what they might like to see coming out of a pipeline, and then spun out an actual working group to
to
do
do
those
it.
items. And then
Okay.
a project came out of it.
Okay, so that's the key piece that okay, so we need to find a way to engage to actually not just, bring our own use cases or but it's like what is the process for collecting other people's use cases? What is the process for engaging outside of, our group to say, hey, this is what we're working on. How do we collect those use cases? Um, or how do we get your wish list and the things that you would like to see in it? And then there's not necessarily, or hopefully we'll have some other interest in this to kind of say, okay, what tools kind of accomplish this now? And then how do we go from there? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like something, yeah, yeah, I did not know how that was done in the open source community. Thank you.
Yeah, the hope and the dream is that um, the actual engineering of a tool will take the information that we've collected
Yes.
and be able to use that in order to either make existing tools better or implement something like CD events if that is something that they is turns out to be a valuable way of doing this, of collecting all this information. um that would be something we could do.
Okay. The other challenge in this, and I think, well, no, I guess, yeah, you can start with Kafka, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Okay. And I really have to try hard not to like go back to my own, you know, this is what I'm dealing with internally, and these are the problems that I'm, and try to loosen up a bit.
Should
Okay.
we start a document to collect use cases, like let's just say we talk about visualization, but what does that actually mean? So I think we need to start with a description of what we're talking about when we say visualization.
Yep.
uh, what is it, what is it for, what does it accomplish, what advantages would a project get or an organization get from visualization? I think that would be something that would be good to, it'd be fun to work on, right?
Yeah. Uh,
And is that something that you are concerned with Apple and things that you guys are working on, or do you have something completely different in mind? Because I think
uh,
group is going to be driven by our participants. So we obviously, if no one here cares about visualization right now, it's probably not the first thing we should tackle.
well, I think that I think we have the two problems. One, I think everyone is concerned with visualization, whether they realize it or not. And I think
Right.
they
So
don't realize it because things work the way they work and they're used to it like that. And they're like, oh, this is fine. And then when you show them the systems connected together and like, oh no, this is a visualization across like your CI system, your CD system, and like the Artifactory, all one visualized kind of thing, and you can see what's happening and what's going on. That will inform people. I would say that every company is trying to, in some form, every large company, yes, we are, but my problem is more like, okay, I got a lot of systems. And it would be awesome if I could do this all together. And so I recognize the steps that have to get there. And like this would be one of them, right? And you start with the visualization, and then like somewhere right behind that, you can start to talk about things like value stream. Or so I think there's a process to get where I want to go long term, and just take the community steps to get there. And yeah, does that make sense?
that makes sense.
Okay.
I had to run and get power really quick. um, so I guess something too that I think about when I think of visualization is being able to like see metrics, see performance metrics as well. Be able to visualize
Yes.
that and be able to see that something is not performing well
Yes.
or that changes could be made, to improve things.
Yes. I agree. I agree. But the piece that I haven't really studied and wanted to get a better understanding of is what is meant by value stream when we're talking about CI/CD, and how close are these metrics to actually um, um, yeah, how closely are these metrics tied to that concept of like just representing like the whole process and like this is what your this is what your product or service is making, because it all kind of applies as you go towards that, I think. And that's what I'm hoping. Does that make sense, or am I once again
That,
drifting off into my own space?
no, that makes sense. And
Okay.
when I think of value stream, sometimes I think of more like high level business objectives. So like if an organization is concerned about a particular feature, how it actually travels through the system, at what point are all of the commits made to that feature, and then later on, at what point are they put into test? When are they put into
Yep.
production? When are bugs tagged against it? Um, so, deciding timelines and deciding, what types of resources are necessary to get something out, being able to visualize that path of an, something going from development to production, I think would be valuable.
Yeah, and I think that the being able to visualize just the change management portion of that and the
Yeah.
test portion of that is pretty close to where we'll be with just the straight events.
Mhm.
Where what we won't have is like how many commits, right? Or a sense of how much time it took a developer to do that work, but that can be inferred. It doesn't have to be super accurate, because really it's from that same perspective that you're talking about. One of the concerns that I want to be able to highlight is, okay, this feature costs you that much to maintain. What
Right,
is it worth? Right.
right.
Right. And so
And then
as you,
performance against it too,
yes, yes, yeah. And being able to highlight that kind of information to the products and features is what I think of as value stream. But I do think if we start with just the visualization, this is the pipeline across systems, we'll have a path there, at least in conversations, as we if we can draw in more people to say this is the direction we're trying to head into. And I think in the conversation with Justin, what I realized is it is creating that foundation of, hey, look at what we can do. This is where we want to get to. These are the steps that we want to take, because it that's what I took away from that conversation. It's not just where you are, but it's like, okay, so what's the next thing? And if you draw them in with like, oh, we're doing this, what's the next thing? How can you help us get there? Your information is important to help us do that. Those become connective points along those steps to go somewhere. Um, yeah. And okay, sorry. I'm solving problems I don't have again.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm thinking even just to start with visualization and even starting to talk about it, let's get an idea of what exactly we're looking at. Like
okay.
what the definition, define intent.
Okay. Um, and that was also why in like reading the white paper, this becomes it's the intent, but it's also each group is going to have a different, and when I
Right.
say each group, I meant the DevOps people, the developers who build the thing, and then the executives who are consuming this information, and even line managers. Like everyone's going to have their own needs across that. And so for each group, we'll have to kind of determine like what's your engagement point? What is it that you need out of this? If you're a developer, is it just an ease of use and knowing like where my things are in the ecosystem? And understanding like, hey, you are using a lot of resources to do this really simple thing. Is there an easier way to do that? Um, how do you get that feedback from a manager? Like, this is the scope of like all of the things that you have, and um, what are those concerns there from an executive? Of course, it's like, okay, how much does all this cost? Um, and am I making money?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Really good point.
yeah, and I think, and I will also, I mean, I'm not going to stop thinking about interoperability and trying to drive things or align things so this makes sense at the end. But I do think that my original thought about engaging with people needs to be reset to like visualization first.
Yeah, I'm imagining, especially if we can start with the reference architecture, we'll have an idea of the different components that are involved and then how each of those components might contribute to visualization.
Yes. So, I CI/CD reference architecture. Um, are we going to just do it for CI/CD? Or are we going to do it for how far are we going to go if we do this? And because when I think of reference architecture, of course, I think of the entire like platform.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so are we going to do the whole
And
platform
I
or
think we should, yeah, because I mean, that's, you start from development, go all the way to production, but then once something's in production, that's when you start really caring. You've got to have that feedback in order to close
yeah,
the loop,
no, yeah,
right?
yeah, we're on the same
So I
page.
think, and I know that can get really, really complicated. So we got to start simple. We need to choose one type of application, for example, and
Okay.
put out a simple reference architecture for that particular example. It may be a simple web app, even a not even a multiple service web app. Um,
Yes, but
it's a
it's
single.
but from a CI/CD perspective, the question is that with even with a simple web app, it's like, okay, but where are you putting that web app? Because if you're putting it on bare
Right.
metal,
You're
it's going to be a different
going to
reference
be
architecture than
on
cloud, right?
premise, right?
Yeah,
Is it going to be
yeah,
on premise? Is it going to be in cloud? So those
yeah,
are two different
yeah,
architectures for sure. Yeah.
yeah. And so, yeah, so and I guess that's part of too the communication in it that I want to make sure that you and I are on the same page about because it's not, from my perspective, it's not so much about what I'm putting on a thing. It's like where am I putting it?
Right.
Okay, okay, all right, cool, cool. Does that make?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then as far as like where Apple is coming in, are there specific use cases that you can think of that you think are more important right now?
Um,
You probably have a ton.
oh my God.
We could start a
Oh
list.
man. Yeah, the
A
litany of
very
stuff,
long
right?
list.
Yeah, because if I was like to do the maniacal laugh on camera.
There you go.
um, uh, I I think the beautiful thing about where I work is the absolute massive scale
Uh-huh.
means that we do everything. I mean, it's like so yeah, we are concerned with everything and especially how people are able to engage in that.
Mhm.
Um and my direct challenge as the person who runs the team that does Spinnaker development is the same. Like the thing that I like most about Spinnaker is it doesn't care where it deploys. It's multi-cloud. It doesn't, whatever your reference architecture is, you can be like, all right, Spinnaker, go deploy, and it will do that. So I I think we can pick whether it's cloud, on-prem, off-prem, like whatever, and I can help with all of that because I do have insight to almost every way that that's can be done.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to start. And I think, evaluating that and pinpointing the little connection pieces between the different components, um, what we might want to see there, what we want to get out of it at the end in order to be able to make good decisions about what to do next with a particular project, where improvements need to be made, um, or even just measuring, where the next investment should be made.
Yes.
Um, I think that's a good place to start.
Okay. And so, um, Yeah. Okay. That works. Sorry. I just had to think through everything you just said.
Maybe when we meet on Friday, we can take a look at we have like very simple something started.
No, that's what I
This-
think we should, yeah, definitely
For
start
a
either
reference
with the reference
architecture.
architecture or and I think with the reference architecture, that will help us understand like the visualization goals. So it could be reference architecture. I think what I am trying to figure out is like, okay, well, doesn't the CNCF already have something like this? And, you know, how would that be that much different? Can we like start with theirs and go, okay, is CI/CD represented correctly in this? I mean, it would make more sense for
Yeah,
like the Linux Foundation's things to all use the same, because it's the Linux Foundation and all of their projects are saying this is reference architecture because it's reference
right.
architecture. So I think that would help if we understood that. I mean, that's easy enough to go and check. It's just that as the CDF and the concern of, okay, well, how are you dealing with the configuration for each layer? And that's what's tricky too about cloud. Like if it's your cloud, then you actually have to do all the deployment to put all the things in your cloud system before you do it. And that needs to be a part of your reference architecture. If you're using AWS, then no, that's a completely different thing. And then are you using EC2 or EKS? And like how granular do we want to make this? And then, or are we just taking the bigger concepts and going, all right, this is what it looks like. But those are things we can work on that date, of course. And uh there are other, other companies have other challenges, right? Not everybody's deploying into servers. Some people are deploying it into like things that are on the move somewhere. um and that's another set of challenges and monitoring that needs to go on. So yeah, and you still got to get those artifacts, they got to go somewhere, right?
That's right. That is right.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the last thing maybe we could discuss, I know we've talked a lot about, getting further engagement. I know that, we need to see what's going on with the CDF probably first. Um, where we're going to be going next as a foundation. But I would like to see one of these sessions, advertised in advance, to get folks
Yes.
involved,
Yes.
have a speaker talk about interoperability, the origin of this group, and some of the things that we want to be talking about in the future,
Yep.
to get more engagement and more folks to.
I know I saw this really good speaker last week at a conference. Maybe we could get her. I think she's pretty good. Yeah.
Who are you talking about? I have no
I'll
idea.
check my Rolodex. I might be able to find her contact information. Uh,
That's funny. But
Gosh.
yeah, we could schedule one of those in the future,
Yes.
um, with enough time to market it,
Yep.
possibly write a blog around it, things like that to get it
No,
out there so people know that it's happening and can mark it down on their calendars.
yes, I am 200% supportive of that. Which is actually, yeah. So this was literally why I was like, hey, we need to start talking about this stuff out of band because yeah, that's what we definitely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's all that was on my mind for.
No, I love it.
Did you have anything else?
No, 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 I appreciate, yeah, thank you.
Cool.
So.
This is good. All right. I'm looking
Well,
forward to.
yeah, let's yeah. Let's do Friday, and if after Friday, that's when we gotta be like, this is good, because
Yes.
yeah, the talking about it part is the easy part, but let's like
Right.
do something, and I think that's kind of like both of us want to do that. It's
Yep.
just been my personal challenge here, so
We're
I
ready to
hope.
jump
Okay.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think
Yes.
is
Thank
that
you.
okay.
All right. Talk to you later.